So first we'll start off by talking about what is ACA 122. The goal of ACA 122 really is just to help you be successful. I'm here to support you on your journey while at Carteret Community College, but I'm also preparing you to leave here and transfer to a university or start a new career. We will discuss topics such as campus resources, goal setting, career exploration, study skills, stress and time management, and most importantly, we'll explore some of your next steps once you leave CCC. I'm here as your college liaison. You can ask me any questions under the sun, and though I may not always know the answer, I will always do my best to point you in the right direction and find out who does. So the next thing we want to talk about is how will this class run? Weeks in this course will run from Monday at 8 a.m. and then due dates are always going to be the following Monday at 12 p.m., which is noon or lunch. Late work will be accepted 7 days past the deadline, but there will be a 5-point deduction for each day the assignment is turned in late. You will always have a lesson each week, which will include a video and or handouts, and then you'll always have an assignment, which could include a forum, a journal, assignment, project, or a combination of all of those. All of your assignments will be submitted via Moodle. You can always email me to ensure that I've received the assignment, and then I will send out announcements once grades are being updated. Please make sure that you read your syllabus thoroughly to understand more about how the class will run. The first thing I want to talk to you all about this week is just some general tips for taking an online class. Even if you don't consider yourself technologically inclined, you'll be surprised how quickly you can become accustomed to the online learning environment. The first thing you really want to do to be successful is take time to get to know Moodle before classes really begin. You'll find that the more familiar you are with Moodle, the more prepared you'll be to excel in your online classes. In a face-to-face course, keep in mind you split your time between a classroom and then someplace outside of the classroom to study or complete assignments. With an online class, however, all your time is being spent outside of the classroom. Therefore, it's even more important that you have a good place to do your work. Find a quiet place with a good internet connection, access to power, and most importantly, freedom from distraction. Ideally, this would be a place where you can routinely visit throughout the course so that when you're there, you know it's time to get down to business. As with any course, but especially for an online one, it's really important to stay organized. You want to organize all your files in a way that makes sense to you. It's also really wise to keep a copy of anything you submit in the event that a technology problem requires you to resubmit it. I would even say even your forum discussion post. Don't forget to take good notes while doing your reading or watching online lectures, just as you would with any other class. As part of staying organized, it's so important, it deserves to be its own tip, is having strong time management skills, which is something we'll talk about in this class. Online courses certainly give you a lot of flexibility in terms of when you do your studying, but that doesn't mean you just don't have to study. Just as you might attend a face-to-face lecture at a regular time, you need to schedule a time in your personal calendar to study the materials in your online course and complete assignments. You want to treat these blocks of time as seriously as you would a face-to-face class, letting your friends and family know that you're unavailable during those times, and consistently using your workspace during those times. Keep a very close eye on assignment due dates as well, and add those to your personal calendar. And finally, the online space does not need to be an isolating one. It's true that your instructor lacks seeing you in class to get a sense of whether or not you might be struggling, but your instructor is still there to help you, even if you never met him or her in person. Also, really consider visiting online or academic support, especially for your online classes. Next, let's talk a little bit about communication with instructors. College students are sometimes surprised to discover that instructors really like students and they enjoy getting to know them. After all, instructors want to feel like they're doing something more meaningful than just talking to an empty room of students. The human dimension of college really matters, and as a student, you're an important part of your instructor's world. Most instructors are really happy to see you during their office hours or just to talk a few minutes after class. Keep in mind some benefits of communication with your instructors. Talking with them is going to make you feel more comfortable in college, and it's also going to make you feel more connected to the campus. It's a valuable way to learn about academic field or career. So for example, if you were interested in pursuing math as a career, my husband would probably be a great resource because he teaches math here at the community college. Keep in mind one day you may need a reference letter or a job recommendation. Getting to know some of your instructors puts you in an ideal position to ask for those recommendations. And then think about what it truly means to be educated. Some of your best discussions in a class probably are going to be outside of the classroom. Talking with your instructors can be some of your most meaningful experiences in college. Now let's talk about some best practices when it comes to communicating with your instructor. Make sure you go over your notes on reading your lectures and write down your specific questions before you go to their office hours. You're going to feel more comfortable and the instructor will really appreciate you being organized. Please don't forget to introduce yourself, especially at the beginning of the term. Don't assume that your instructor has learned everyone's name yet. And then unless the instructor has already asked you to address them a certain way, please use Mr., Mrs., Professor, or Instructor. Don't just call them by their first name. In addition to teaching, college instructors sit on committees, we have other professional work, and we also have personal lives. Don't show up to 2 minutes before the end of an office hour and then expect the instructor to stay late for you. Really respect their time. Don't try to fool an instructor. So insincere praise or just making excuses for not doing an assignment won't make it in college. Nor is it a good idea to show that you're too cool to take all this seriously. Another attitude sure to turn off an instructor. To earn your instructor's respect, come to class prepared, do the work, participate, and show respect. And the instructor will be happy to see you when you come to office hours or if you need extra help. Make sure that you're being professional when talking to an instructor. You can be friendly, but keep it professional and on an adult level. Come to office hours prepared with your questions, not just to chat or joke around. Be prepared to accept criticism in a professional way without taking it personally or complaining. Now let's talk about email best practices. Just as email has become a primary form of communication in business, email is growing in education and has become an important, valuable means of communicating, especially in an online class. When it's difficult to see an instructor in person during office hours, email can be an effective form of communication. Email is also an increasingly effective way to collaborate with other students. If your instructor gives you his or her email address, use email rather than a telephone for non-urgent matters. Using email respects people's time and allows them to answer at a time of their choosing. Keep in mind, email is a written form of communication that's different from a telephone voice and text message. Students who text with friends often have adopted shortcuts, such as not spelling out full words, ignoring capitalization and punctuation, and not bothering with grammar. This is really inappropriate when emailing an instructor, and we expect a more professional quality of writing. Most instructors expect their communications to be in full sentence with correctly spelled words and reasonable grammar. So just some other best practices that's listed here. Make sure to email from your college. Make sure that you use the subject line so we can effectively, at a glance, know what you're asking for. Start off with Dear Professor or Mr. or Mrs. Again, identify your full name or introduce yourself as if it's not easily recognizable in your email account. Get to your point quickly. Don't make it so you have to scroll down 2 or 3 pages to see what it is you want to say. Again, this goes back to make sure you express yourself in a professional manner. Don't try to be funny, ironic, or sarcastic. Again, we don't really know what you're trying to say in an email because you don't have your actual voice tone. Please do not use capital letters. All caps definitely look like shouting. Some other best practices, avoid abbreviation. So don't use text lingo. Don't use smiley faces. Make sure you convey a professional tone. Don't make demands in your email. So at the end, say, I expect to hear from you soon. Or if I haven't heard from you by 4 p.m., I'll assume you'll accept my late paper. When you reply to a message, make sure you leave the original message within yours just so there's a paper trail. Be polite, end with thank you or sincerely, something along those lines. Make sure to proofread before you send it. And then with any other important message, just as you would to a work supervisor, it's a good idea to wait and review the message, especially if you have an emotion come up. Say you got an F on a paper and you're really upset about it and you shoot off an email. Sometimes it's best, as we know, to wait some time and then come back to it so it doesn't convey that angry tone. So just in summary, Keep in mind when you have a question, ask it sooner or later than class. Especially with this one, I want to make sure that I'm answering all your questions, not just about this class, but your time here at Carteret Community College. Be prepared and plan your questions and comments in advance, especially if you're going to an instructor's office hours. Make sure to be respectful but personable and communicate professionally. Make sure to be open-minded and ready to learn. Avoid whining and complaining. And then keep in mind there's no such thing as a stupid question, especially when it comes to this class. I really wanted you to feel comfortable to ask me anything under the sun, not just about ACA, but anything about your time here at Carteret.